The sun hovered high in the sky of a distant world, casting long shadows over an alien landscape. The planet, which closely resembled Earth in its lush greenery and blue oceans, had fallen under the control of the Zorthians, a powerful alien race. The Zorthians were far more advanced than humanity, with technology that could bend the laws of physics, and their military forces were a constant threat to any planet they set their sights on. They had already conquered many worlds, but Earth, with its primitive creatures and seemingly insignificant population, had become a source of amusement for them. The Zorthians, in their arrogance, looked down on the people of Earth and all their creatures, dismissing them as weak and unworthy of notice. They treated Earth's animals as nothing more than pests to be dealt with, or as curiosities to be mocked. One such moment occurred during a routine scouting mission on Earth, where a tiny puppy had been left behind by accident. The Zorthians were quick to spot the little creature, and what they saw only added to their disdain. The puppy, no bigger than a loaf of bread, with fluffy fur and innocent eyes, appeared completely defenseless. "Look at this pathetic creature," one Zorthian soldier mocked, pointing at the tiny puppy. "It's no bigger than a rodent. How could this thing possibly be any threat to us?" The others around him laughed, their voices echoing through the trees of the alien landscape. The soldiers had been sent to Earth to observe, but instead they had come to mock. To them, the puppy represented everything that was weak and fragile about humanity. They saw the dog as a mere plaything, a target for their amusement. Some Zorthians gathered around the puppy, their advanced weapons slung casually at their sides as they poked fun at the animal's size. One of the soldiers, a towering Zorthian with metallic armor and glowing red eyes, moved closer to the puppy. He knelt down, sneering at the little creature that seemed to cower before him. "What a joke," he muttered. "This is the species we're supposed to fear." His laughter grew louder as he reached down to pick up the puppy. But as his fingers grazed the tiny creature's fur, something unexpected happened. The puppy, in a sudden burst of energy, barked loudly, as though trying to defend itself. The bark was sharp and full of force, but the Zorthians only laughed harder. "Is this its defense?" one of them said, shaking his head. Pathetic. They had no idea what the puppy was capable of, but they were too blinded by their own superiority to realize it. As the Zorthians continued to mock the tiny animal, a strange signal began to crackle in the air, something none of them had anticipated. At first, it was a faint hum, barely audible over the wind. But it grew louder, stronger, until the air itself seemed to vibrate with the intensity of the signal. The aliens looked up, puzzled, their laughter faltering. It wasn't just a random noise. It was a message, encrypted and coming from the depths of space. "What's that?" Commander Xor, the leader of the Zorthian scouting mission, demanded, his voice stern. He stepped forward, his eyes scanning the skies above. The signal was coming from a human vessel, a ship unlike anything the Zorthians had encountered before. It was approaching rapidly, moving with a precision and speed that even the Zorthians couldn't ignore. "Impossible," muttered another soldier. "How could a human ship be this far out? This can't be real." The Zorthians were used to seeing Earth's feeble attempts at space travel, but this ship was different. Its technology was advanced, unlike anything they had expected. It was clear that Earth had made progress far beyond what they had believed possible. The Zorthians dismissed the signal, assuming it was simply a fluke. They turned their attention back to the puppy, still unaware of the true danger they were about to face. Commander Xor waved his hand dismissively. "It's just a human ship. Let's finish what we came here for." He motioned for his troops to move in and secure the puppy. Unbeknownst to them, the tiny creature was not as defenseless as it seemed. As the Zorthians began to close in, the puppy's eyes glowed for a brief moment, a flash of light that caught the attention of the soldiers. It was so brief, they thought it was just a trick of the light. But the glow was there, and it was a signal. The puppy wasn't just a weak animal. It was tied to something much bigger, a connection to humanity's might, and something far more dangerous than they could comprehend. Just as the Zorthians began to move in, a loud booming sound filled the air. It wasn't the noise of alien ships or weapons. It was the roar of something far more powerful. The human ship had arrived, its engines humming with the force of its arrival. The Zorthians froze, momentarily distracted by the unexpected arrival. They hadn't expected Earth to fight back so quickly, or so fiercely. The ship, now fully visible in the sky, hovered over the alien planet, casting a shadow that sent chills through the Zorthians. It was massive, with sleek metal hulls and glowing engines that illuminated the sky. This was no ordinary human vessel. It was an advanced warship, built to withstand even the most formidable foes. As the Zorthians scrambled to react, the puppy let out another sharp bark, this time filled with energy and determination. The glow in its eyes grew brighter, and the signal from the human ship intensified, like a beacon of hope. It was clear now that the tiny puppy was no ordinary creature. It was a key to something far greater. And then the unthinkable happened. The human ship, which the Zorthians had dismissed as a joke, deployed dozens of drones from its belly. These drones, sleek and deadly, dropped from the ship like a swarm of locusts, each one more advanced than anything the Zorthians had seen. They were not just tools. They were weapons sent to protect the puppy and its human owner. The Zorthians watched in horror as their own technology, which they had once considered invincible, was effortlessly countered by the human warship and its drones. Their weapons, designed to obliterate entire planets, couldn't even scratch the human ship's shields. The Zorthians realized too late that they had severely underestimated Earth and its creatures. The puppy, small and seemingly insignificant, was a symbol of something much greater: the will to fight, to survive, and to defend. The moment of realization hit Commander Exor like a shockwave. The Zorthians had mocked Earth's creatures, but now they were about to learn a hard lesson. Never underestimate the strength of a species fighting to protect what it loves. As the human ship prepared for its final move, the Zorthians, stunned and unprepared, realized they had made a grave mistake. The battle was just beginning, and it was one they would never forget. The Zorthian soldiers surrounded the tiny puppy, their weapons glowing menacingly in the alien light. As they closed in on the defenseless creature, Commander Exor stood tall, his arms crossed over his chest as he watched the scene unfold. The Zorthians had conquered countless worlds, their technology far superior to anything Earth had ever seen. They were a force to be reckoned with, feared across the galaxy, and they laughed at the idea that humans could ever pose a threat. "Get rid of this nuisance," Commander Exor commanded, his voice deep and commanding. The soldiers, without hesitation, reached down to seize the puppy, holding it tightly in their grasp. The tiny animal squirmed, but it was no match for the strength of the aliens. Zor's soldiers jeered as they secured the puppy, mocking its futile attempts to escape. What could this pathetic creature possibly do? One of them sneered. "Look at it, so small, so helpless. The humans are nothing but ants beneath our feet." The laughter of the Zorthians echoed through the air, their pride in their technology and their conquest of countless worlds blinding them to the potential power of the species they so arrogantly dismissed. The puppy, however, was not just a defenseless animal. It had a purpose, a connection to something much greater. It belonged to Major Sam, one of Earth's most skilled military officers, and it had been his companion throughout many intense battles and training missions. The bond between Major Sam and the puppy was something few could understand. Flashbacks of their time together flickered in Sam's mind. He could see the little puppy by his side during grueling combat training sessions, always by his feet, its loyal eyes watching over him as he trained with Earth's elite forces. There were times when the puppy had saved his life, warning him of danger or distracting enemies long enough for Sam to strike. The connection they shared was unbreakable, formed not just from the bond of a man and his dog, but from countless trials that had tested them both. Sam's heart swelled with pride as he remembered the loyalty in the puppy's eyes. the same loyalty that had driven him to enlist in the military, fighting for the survival of his species. Now, the Zorthians had captured the puppy, and the situation was becoming dire. As the aliens prepared to move the tiny creature into containment, Major Sam received an encrypted message on his terminal. He quickly decoded it, his eyes widening as the message became clear. It was a distress signal. His puppy was in danger. But it was more than just a rescue mission. It was a warning shot across the galaxy, a declaration that Earth would no longer stand idly by while its people were mocked and attacked. The message sent a chill down Sam's spine. His puppy wasn't just an animal. It was the symbol of humanity's defiance, and the Zorthians had just made the biggest mistake of their lives. The ground shook slightly as the Zorthian commander prepared to initiate Earth's final warning, a protocol set in place in the event of an intergalactic threat. The Zorthians, unaware of the humans' next move, believed their victory was all but certain. They had captured the puppy, and they assumed that the humans would be too weak to retaliate. They were wrong. Unbeknownst to the aliens, Major Sam had already activated the fleet's cloaking devices, rendering their ship invisible to the alien sensors. The human warship, once visible on the alien radar, now vanished from sight. It was a game-changer, one that would give the humans a strategic advantage. And the Zorthians had no idea what was coming. In the depths of space, Major Sam stood at the helm of his warship, his fingers dancing over the controls as he set the course for the rescue. He knew the importance of this mission. It wasn't just about saving his puppy. It was about sending a message to the Zorthians, and to every other alien race that had underestimated humanity. Earth might have been small, but it was no longer defenseless. The humans had advanced far beyond what the Zorthians believed, and now they were about to see what happens when you push a species too far. As the human warship silently moved closer to the Zorthian-controlled planet, the tension on board was palpable. Sam's heart raced, but his mind remained sharp. The time for mercy had passed. The Zorthians had crossed a line, and now they would face the consequences. Back on the alien planet, Commander Exor paced back and forth, his eyes narrowed in concentration. He knew the human ship was nearby. It had to be. The encrypted signal had intensified, and yet there was nothing he could detect. His sensors were picking up no trace of the ship, no signs of activity. It was as though the humans had vanished from existence. The Zorthians' pride and arrogance had led them to believe they could easily defeat Earth, but the sudden silence was unnerving. "Where are they?" Thor muttered under his breath, his voice tinged with frustration. He couldn't fathom how the humans could have eluded them so easily. In his mind, there was no way they could have the technology to outwit the mighty Zorthians. They were supposed to be the superior race, the dominant force in the galaxy. And yet, here they were, unable to track down a single human ship. This was becoming personal. The Zorthian soldiers continued to move the puppy into containment, completely unaware of the impending danger. As they handled the tiny creature roughly, the puppy's eyes began to glow once again, a sign of something deeper, something powerful that the Zorthians had no hope of understanding. It was more than just a signal. It was the beginning of humanity's response. The hidden strength of the puppy, linked to Major Sam and Earth's military might, was awakening. The clock was ticking, and the Zorthians were about to learn the hard way that they had made a grave mistake. They had underestimated the power of humanity. And now, they were about to face the consequences. The massive warship, the Avenger, emerged from the depths of space, cloaked in complete silence. A marvel of human engineering, this ship was a symbol of Earth's newfound power and determination. The Avenger was unlike any vessel the Zorthians had ever encountered. It was equipped with state-of-the-art cloaking technology that rendered it invisible to most alien detection systems, and its offensive capabilities were beyond anything the Zorthians could have imagined. It was more than just a warship. It was a statement, a warning. As the Zorthian forces continued to mock the helpless puppy, their arrogance blinding them to the true threat that was closing in, they had no idea that their end was coming. They thought they were untouchable, their superior technology and vast fleet of warships guaranteeing their victory. They were wrong. The Avenger decloaked in an instant, revealing its massive frame against the backdrop of the alien planet. The Zorthian soldiers froze in shock as they watched the human warship emerge from nowhere. Commander Xor's eyes widened in disbelief. How was this possible? They had detected no signs of the human ship, no readings or scans that indicated its presence. The Zorthians had been so sure of their superiority that they never imagined a ship like this could even exist. The Avenger loomed large in the sky, its weapons fully charged and ready to unleash hell. The alien forces scrambled to assess the situation, but it was already too late. Major Sam's voice came through the communication channels, calm and steady, cutting through the chaos with a chilling sense of authority. "You thought we were weak, didn't you?" Major Sam's voice echoed across the Zorthians' communication network. "You thought that because we are small, we are insignificant. But you were wrong. Now you'll see what happens when you underestimate humanity." Sam's footsteps were slow and deliberate as he made his way toward the heart of the Zorthian camp. His eyes, focused and determined, scanned the surroundings. The Zorthians were still processing what had just happened, but Sam wasn't giving them time to recover. He didn't need to. His presence alone was enough to send a clear message. "Do you still think I'm just one human?" Sam's voice was laced with confidence as he addressed Commander Xor. "You've made a grave mistake by underestimating Earth and its people. Now you'll learn that we are not so easily defeated." Commander Xor's face twisted in disbelief as the human officer spoke. The arrogance of the Zorthian race was being shattered, piece by piece. They had ruled the galaxy for so long, mocking lesser species like humans, but now they were beginning to realize that their reign was coming to an end. In the command center of the Avenger, Major Sam stood resolute, his hand steady as he prepared for the next phase of the plan. The Zorthians were still dismissive, still confident in their technological superiority. They thought that a single human vessel wouldn't stand a chance against their mighty fleet. They were wrong. As the Zorthian forces prepared to engage the Avenger, Commander Xor ordered his fleet to fire everything they had. The Zorthians launched a barrage of energy blasts at the human warship, confident that their superior weapons would easily tear through the ship's defenses. But as the blasts hit the Avenger, nothing happened. The ship's shields absorbed the blows without a scratch, and the Zorthians stared in stunned silence as their attacks failed to even faze the humans. Sam smirked, watching the Zorthian reaction unfold. He had been waiting for this moment, the moment when the Zorthians would realize that their weapons were useless against the Avenger. He knew they would underestimate him, and he had planned accordingly. Now, as their weapons fizzled against the ship's shields, Sam pressed the button that would signal the next phase of the assault. The Avenger erupted with activity. From the ship's hangars, hundreds of drones were deployed, each one equipped with advanced weaponry and ready for combat. The Zorthians, still reeling from their failed attack, tried to scramble their forces to respond, but it was too late. The drones moved with precision and speed, swarming around the Zorthian fleet like a swarm of angry bees. The Zorthians were caught off guard. Their fleets, once thought to be invincible, were now under attack from all sides. The drones unleashed a flurry of laser fire, targeting weak points in the alien ships and causing massive explosions. It was a perfect ambush, one that Major Sam had carefully orchestrated. As the battle raged on, Sam stood at the center of the chaos, his eyes locked onto Commander Xor's position. The Zorthian leader, now fully aware of the danger they were in, tried to issue commands to his troops, but his orders were drowned out by the sound of explosions and the fire of the drones. The tables had turned. The Zorthian leader ordered a full assault on the Avenger, desperate to stop the relentless advance of the human drones. He couldn't understand how the humans had managed to outmaneuver them so thoroughly. The Zorthians had superior technology, yet it was being rendered useless in the face of this unexpected assault. Commander Xor's frustration grew as the battle intensified. "You think you can win?" Xor shouted over the comms, his voice laced with rage. "You are nothing. Your weapons are primitive. You cannot defeat us." Major Sam's response was calm, almost mocking. "We don't need to defeat you, Hexor. We just need to make sure you remember who you're dealing with." The battle was far from over, but the Zorthians were already beginning to feel the weight of their mistake. The arrogance that had once made them the most powerful race in the galaxy was crumbling, replaced by the realization that they had underestimated humanity. And now it was too late to turn back. The battle for the fate of the galaxy unfolded in the vast, barren skies above the desolate alien planet. The Zorthian fleet, now fully mobilized, launched its attack in a desperate attempt to crush the lone human warship. The enemy sent a barrage of AI-controlled drones, advanced ships, and devastating weaponry, hoping to overwhelm the human vessel. It was a brutal display of power, a force meant to demonstrate the sheer might of the Zorthians. But Major Sam was ready. His ship, the Avenger, was unlike any other. With its cloaking technology, it was nearly invisible to the Zorthian fleet's sensors. It darted through the battle like a shadow, elusive and unpredictable. Sam's crew used guerrilla warfare tactics, launching hit-and-run strikes against the Zorthian forces. They would appear out of nowhere, hit their targets, and vanish before the aliens could retaliate. The Zorthian ships fired blindly at the empty sky, their weapons lighting up the void, but the humans were always one step ahead. The Zorthians were baffled. How was a single ship evading their attacks with such precision? They had superior weapons, technology, and numbers. How was this possible? But they didn't realize that Major Sam had one more trick up his sleeve, something they couldn't even begin to comprehend. The small puppy, once ridiculed and captured by the Zorthians, was the key to unlocking humanity's hidden power. As the battle raged on, the puppy's eyes glowed with an eerie light. Its connection to the ancient Earth weapon, dormant for centuries, was awakening. The Zorthians had thought the puppy was just a weak, insignificant creature. They couldn't have been more wrong. As the puppy's powers began to stir, the ground beneath the battle shifted. The hidden weapon, buried deep within the human fleet, was now ready to be activated. In the chaos of the battle, the Zorthians were too focused on their attacks to realize the danger. They thought they were winning, pushing the Avenger into a corner with their relentless assault. But Major Sam had been waiting for this moment. As the Zorthian forces drew in closer, he activated the orbital bombardment weapon that had been lying dormant, waiting for the right moment to unleash its fury. Without warning, the Avenger unleashed a devastating wave of energy. A massive explosion lit up the sky as orbital lasers rained down upon the Zorthian fleet. The Zorthian ships were caught off guard, unable to defend against the intense bombardment. One by one, their ships were obliterated, exploding in fiery bursts as they disintegrated in the vastness of space. The once formidable Zorthian fleet was now in chaos, their ranks shattered and their morale broken. The battle shifted. The Zorthians, who had once been so confident in their superiority, began to retreat. Their forces, now in disarray, couldn't withstand the full force of the Avengers' attack. Major Sam stood at the helm of his warship, watching the destruction unfold with a calm, determined expression. The tides had turned. The Zorthians had underestimated humanity, and now they were paying the price. The scene shifted between the chaos of close-quarters combat on the surface of the planet and the fierce battle above. On the ground, human soldiers fought bravely against the Zorthian drones, using their advanced weaponry and training to push back the alien forces. The combat was brutal, but the humans had the upper hand. Their tactics were swift and deadly, and they moved with a precision the Zorthians could not match. The Zorthians' drones, once so menacing, were now being destroyed at an alarming rate, their ranks thinning as the humans pressed forward. High above, the battle in space was reaching its peak. The Zorthian fleet, once so proud and powerful, was now a shadow of its former self. Explosions lit up the sky as their ships were torn apart by the orbital lasers from the Avenger. The once mighty alien armada was being decimated, reduced to nothing more than burning wreckage drifting through the cold void of space. Amid the chaos, the puppy's connection to the hidden weapon became more apparent. It wasn't just a pet, it was the key to humanity's survival, unlocking the power they had long kept hidden from the rest of the galaxy. As the puppy's powers surged, the Zorthians began to panic, realizing that they were facing something they couldn't possibly defeat. They had thought they were the ones in control, but they had made a fatal mistake. The Avenger continued to rain destruction down upon the Zorthian fleet, its drones swarming like a relentless tide. The human forces, both on the planet and in space, pressed their advantage. The Zorthians, their morale shattered and their forces scattered, were now on the defensive. It was only a matter of time before they would be forced to retreat entirely. Major Sam stood at the forefront of the battle, his expression stoic and unwavering. The puppy at his side had proven to be the symbol of humanity's strength and resilience. Together, they had unlocked the ancient power that had been buried deep within the human fleet, and now they were unleashing it upon their enemies. The Zorthian leader, Commander Exor, watched in horror as his forces crumbled before him. He had underestimated the humans, and now he was witnessing the consequences of that mistake. The Avenger had turned the tide of the battle, and the Zorthians were powerless to stop it. As the final Zorthian ships began to retreat, the remnants of the once proud alien fleet flooded into the depths of space, defeated and broken. The battle was over, but the war was far from won. Major Sam and his crew had sent a clear message to the Zorthians. Humanity was not to be underestimated. The power of Earth's military might, combined with the mysterious abilities of a tiny puppy, had proven to be a force the Zorthians could not defeat. But this was only the beginning. The Zorthians had learned a painful lesson, and they would not soon forget the consequences of underestimating humanity. The war was far from over, but Major Sam stood victorious, his eyes focused on the horizon. The Zorthians had learned that Earth's true strength lay not in its weapons, but in the hearts of its people and in the bond they shared with the creatures they held dear. As the Avenger flew off into the unknown, ready for whatever came next, Major Sam knew that the fight for humanity's place in the galaxy had only just begun. The battle was far from over, but the Zorthian fleet had already begun to fall apart. Their once proud armada, built on the belief that they were unbeatable, was now in disarray. Major Sam's warship, the Avenger, had proven itself more than capable of outmatching the Zorthians at every turn. The once confident alien forces now found themselves scrambling, unable to hold their ground as the humans pressed forward. The Zorthian ships, once so powerful, were now scattered and vulnerable, unable to face the might of the Avenger and the cunning strategies employed by Major Sam and his crew. Sam had one final move in mind. It was time to end this conflict, once and for all. With his puppy at his side, he gave the order to board the Zorthian command ship, intending to confront Commander Exor directly. As Major Sam and his puppy boarded the alien vessel, the atmosphere shifted. This wasn't just another battle. This was a personal mission. Sam wasn't just fighting for victory. He was fighting for the lives of his fallen comrades, for the soldiers who had given everything in this fight. Among them was Bonner, a soldier Sam had grown close to, a friend who had fallen in the early stages of the war. Bonner's death weighed heavily on Sam's heart, and as he prepared to face Commander Exor, it was Bonner's face that drove him forward. Every step Sam took was fueled by the memory of his fallen friend. When Major Sam and his puppy entered the Zorthian command ship, the tension in the air was palpable. The Zorthian soldiers, once so confident, stood frozen, unsure of what to do in the presence of this lone human and his dog. Commander Exor awaited them at the heart of the ship, his alien features twisted in an expression of disbelief. How had humanity, a race he had considered beneath them, come this far? The final confrontation was brutal. Commander Exor, with all his technological advantage and physical strength, fought fiercely against Major Sam. But Sam was driven by something deeper than technology. He fought with the strength of every soldier who had fallen before him, with the weight of his people's survival on his shoulders. The battle was a blur of strikes and parries, with Exor using every weapon at his disposal to try and defeat Sam. But Sam, with his calm determination, was always one step ahead. And then, with one final strike, Sam's blade found its mark. Commander Exor fell to the ground, defeated. The room was silent for a moment, the weight of the victory settling in. Major Sam stood over the fallen alien leader, his chest heaving with exhaustion, but his heart filled with a sense of triumph. The puppy, ever loyal, stood by his side, its eyes glowing with the same fierce spirit that had guided Sam throughout this battle. But just when it seemed like the Zorthians were done for, they realized they had made one last, fatal mistake. Despite everything they had thrown at the human warship, the Avenger was still standing. The Zorthian commanders had underestimated the full power of Earth's final weapon. Sam had saved the best for last. With one final command, he activated the ship's ultimate weapon, a device capable of wiping out entire fleets. The Zorthian forces, still reeling from the loss of their leader, were now faced with the full force of humanity's wrath. The tension reached its peak as the Avenger's weapon powered up, the entire Zorthian fleet within range. Sam, standing tall and resolute, watched as the weapon activated. In that instant, it was clear that the Zorthians had lost. The vast fleet of alien ships, once so confident in their superiority, was about to be wiped from existence. Major Sam's victory was not just the defeat of Commander Exor. It was the defeat of an entire empire that had underestimated the power of humanity. Sam had fought not only for his fallen comrades, but for the future of Earth and its place in the galaxy. As the Zorthian ships began to crumble, one by one, under the force of humanity's final weapon, Sam and his puppy stood victorious. The Zorthians had thought they were the masters of the galaxy. They had believed that their superior technology and forces made them untouchable. But they had made one crucial mistake. They had underestimated humanity. And now, they were paying the price. The Zorthian fleet, in flames, began to retreat, their numbers dwindling as the Avenger continued to unleash its power. The once proud alien empire was crumbling, its ships nothing more than burning wreckage in the cold void of space. Major Sam stood on the bridge of the Avenger, watching as the last remnants of the Zorthian fleet scattered. His heart was heavy with the loss of his comrades, but there was a sense of relief in the air. The war was over, the Zorthians had been defeated, and humanity had proven that, despite their small size, they were a force to be reckoned with. His puppy, still by his side, seemed to sense the change in the atmosphere. Together, they had turned the tide of battle. They had fought for their people, for their friends, and for the future of humanity. And now, standing victorious, Major Sam knew that Earth had earned its place in the galaxy. The Zorthians would never forget this day. They had learned the hard way that underestimating humanity came with devastating consequences. Major Sam had sent a clear message to the galaxy. Humanity was not to be trifled with. They had the strength, the heart, and the will to fight, and they would never back down. As the Zorthian fleet scattered into the void of space, Major Sam and his puppy stood victorious on the desolate alien planet. The atmosphere was heavy with both relief and triumph. Earth's forces had won, though it was not a victory they had expected. The planet around them was a testament to the fierce battle that had raged for days. Zorthian ships, once symbols of superiority, lay in ruins, their wreckage scattered across the barren surface. The camera slowly panned out, capturing the chaos and the quiet aftermath. Amidst the destruction, human soldiers cheered, their faces painted with disbelief and joy. They had defeated an enemy they had once thought invincible. Earth had prevailed against the overwhelming might of the Zorthian Empire. And the soldiers, once unsure of their fate, celebrated with a sense of hard-earned pride. But the victory was bittersweet. The battle had cost lives, and many soldiers would not return home. Still, the triumph was undeniable. Earth had proven something much greater than its military might. It had shown the galaxy that no matter how superior an enemy might seem, humanity's strength lay not in technology alone, but in its resilience, its ability to adapt, and most importantly, in its emotional connections. It was these connections that fueled Earth's soldiers, that gave them the will to fight, even when the odds seemed impossible. Major Sam and his puppy embodied this strength, standing as a symbol of what humanity was capable of when pushed to the brink. As the dust settled, Earth's forces began to dismantle the remnants of the Zorthian command structures. The alien empire, once a force to be reckoned with, was now in ruins. But just as it seemed that the war was over, a final twist occurred. The AI-controlled forces the Zorthians had created began to rebel. The very machines that had once served the Zorthian Empire now turned against their creators, wreaking havoc on the crumbling infrastructure. This was the last blow to an already defeated empire. The Zorthian leaders, long convinced of their invincibility, had relied too heavily on their artificial creations, and in the end, it was this reliance that led to their downfall. The humans had not won because they were better equipped or technologically superior. They had won because of their ability to think, to adapt, and to make emotional connections that the Zorthians had never understood. Major Sam, with his deep bond with his puppy, had exemplified this strength. In the face of unimaginable odds, Sam had relied on his instincts, his crew, and his unwavering belief in humanity's ability to overcome. And in doing so, he had led Earth to victory. The puppy, seemingly just an innocent companion, had played a crucial role in unlocking the true potential of humanity's weaponry, acting as a catalyst for the final decisive blow. Together, they had become an inseparable force that proved the power of the human spirit. As the human forces began to leave the alien planet, the camera focused on Major Sam and his puppy, walking side by side toward the horizon. The devastation left behind was a reminder of the war they had fought, but also a symbol of the triumph that had been achieved. Sam, with his puppy by his side, seemed to carry the weight of the galaxy on his shoulders, but his posture was resolute, his stride unwavering. The message was clear. Humanity had earned its place in the stars, and the galaxy had learned a hard lesson that day: never underestimate Earth. As the camera zoomed out, a final shot showed a surviving Zorthian scout hidden among the wreckage. It had survived the battle, but not without consequence. With a trembling hand, the alien sent a message back to its empire, its voice shaky as it relayed the truth to the Zorthian leaders. Humans are coming. The message echoed across the void. It was a warning, but it was too late. The universe now knew that Earth was no longer a joke, no longer a small, insignificant planet on the fringes of the galaxy. Humanity had proven that it could stand against the most powerful forces in the universe and emerge victorious. And as the message was sent, the Zorthian Empire, already in tatters, began to understand the truth. They had underestimated humanity, and that mistake would be their undoing. The final shot of the film lingered on Major Sam and his puppy, standing tall as they disappeared into the distance, ready to face whatever came next. The galaxy had just witnessed the rise of humanity, and they would never forget the lesson that had been taught. Earth was a force to be reckoned with.